Ever since you came around, it's been a cascade of trouble. Something about you gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Today we are taking a deep dive into the latest trailer of episode 5 of season 3 of Euphoria. Now, after episode 4 left us with seeing Rue working with the DEA, Jules and Lexi not being on the same page, we had Nate trying to be a good guy, Cassie's gone viral with the help of Maddie, and Elordi getting her revenge for her bird, we're left with wondering what's gonna happen next. Well, based on this trailer, looks like Cassie is putting in that work, Rue gets deeper and deeper into her own grave that she dug, and Nate's got another ass whooping coming. There's a lot to break down in this trailer, so with that said, spoiler warning for the previous episodes of this season, alongside with my theories and predictions based on this trailer. Again, spoiler warning. Now, the title of this episode is This Little Piggy. Now, if I were to make a guess, I would say that maybe Nate will lose another limb. We open this trailer with Bishop telling Rue that since she's been in the picture working for Alamo, there's been nothing but trouble, and how there's something about her that gives him the heebie-jeebies. Now, as he's saying this to her, you notice that he's wearing an outfit and he has tools in preparation to torture someone in what looks to be like maybe an unrenovated portion of Alamo's house. Now, I really couldn't make out who Bishop was about to torture, but it looks like it could be the security guard from the Silver Slipper who we briefly saw at the end of last week's episode, who had a gun pointed in his face and was forced to let Wayne and Harley in. Now, if that is him, I bet that we're going to see Alamo thinking that maybe the robbery was an inside job and maybe he thinks that the guard let them in. Now, next we see Maddie sending off cards with kisses in them and also sending out lingerie, and I would imagine that these are Cassie's new fans who are willing to pay top dollar for them. As we can see, her DMs are blowing up on social media as Maddie tells Cassie that she's recently passed 50,000 subscribers, as Cassie screams in excitement and hugs Maddie.
For my fans, I'll do anything.
So yeah, it would appear that Cassie has gone full-blown X-rated on her OnlyFans with no limits, no restrictions whatsoever, which in my mind means that there's no coming back from that. There's no closing Pandora's box. Now next we see Cassie with the influencer with 20 million plus followers by the name of Brandon, who we met in last week's episode, as they seem to have gotten closer as he offers for her to move in with him. Which is then followed by Cassie telling Maddie in her home that it's not personal, it's just business. So based on what we just saw, it would appear that Cassie crosses that line that Maddie said not to, which is you can sell your body without giving your body up. And I would have bet that this Brandon guy has probably offered to either manage Cassie himself or to offer his representatives to represent her now. And we see Maddie doesn't seem that upset, which based on her and Cassie's history, she probably expected her to be a backstabber. But if this is to be believed that maybe this is us seeing Cassie firing Maddie, that is, if I was Maddie, I would be pissed, because we see her saying in the next scene, she says to Cass to have some balls, which again makes me think that she's basically firing Maddie after everything she just did for her. Again, if this is to be true, that we're going to see Cassie firing Maddie, what a POS, man. Like, seriously, after everything she just did, like, Maddie literally got her to where she is within like a couple weeks, and you're already sleeping with an influencer, which, by the way, we have to remember that Cassie is still married, regardless if she sold her ring to live in the apartment complex as her sister. So there's that. And again, if she is to fire Maddie, I hope Maddie like gives her the hands like she gave her in season 2. Now, as we'll discuss later, it could be a possibility that this could be like a misdirect. Maybe she's not firing her. Maybe she's like talking to Maddie about firing someone else. Maybe she's like trying to get her advice and she's telling Cass, like, get some balls. Like, tell this person, maybe tell Nate you want a divorce. Tell your new boyfriend Brandon you don't want to move in with him. So it might be something different. Or maybe this is all a part of Cassie's plans to help Nate. Now we see Jules and Rue are together as Jules says to Rue that if she wants her to make her hers, and then that is followed by us seeing Ellis, who seems to be a bit upset or maybe jealous as he believes that he's found some male clothing in his apartment, as he tosses those clothes in Jules's face and tells her he doesn't like that. Now, I am to bet that those clothes aren't owned by a male. It's probably Rue's clothes, and obviously it's probably safe to bet that Ellis isn't aware of who Rue is. Now, going back to Jules telling Rue that if you want me to make you yours, is she giving up on Ellis? Does she not want to be a sugar baby anymore? Like, what does she exactly mean by that? And again, does this have anything to do with the painting from last week where Jules just kind of feels lost? She's like feeling this way of like feeling like she's in high school again and kind of making irrational decisions. So I am curious to know, like, what does Jules mean when she says, Rue, if you want to make me yours, just say it and I'll be yours. So I'm really excited to see where this relationship is going. Is it more of the old school Jules and Rue, the toxicity, or is there something new that she wants to offer? Now here we see Nate vibing out to some music as he says that he's counting on his babe. Now him saying that makes me think that Cassie is selling lingerie, apparently sleeping with this big influencer and gaining all this attention online and getting all this money. This is all an effort to helping her husband Nate, who's run out of answers to paying Nas back. So he's relying on his wife to being the breadwinner and to making the money. And you'll notice, look in the background here, the house is a mess. The house is already disgusting, but we see boxes of food all over the place, which makes me think that Nate probably fired their housekeeper because, again, they need to save some money. Now, after saying that he's counting on her, we get this shot of Cassie on what looks like a casting call, and she's taking headshots. Now, is this have anything to do with OnlyFans, or is this Cassie making her way into Hollywood? Because the very next shot is of Patty asking Lexi if that's her sister, so maybe Cassie is auditioning for a role on LA Nights. Now, if Cassie is making her transition from OnlyFans into Hollywood, did Brandon help her get that potential opportunity to be on the show? Did she run into the star of the show, Dylan? Either way, Lexi didn't seem too happy about this, and I don't blame her because she's probably nervous of being attached to someone that she knows affecting her career, similar to what we saw Jules do with that painting in last week's episode. Now here we see Nate running up the stairs from someone, and I'm assuming it's the goon that we're going to see in this next shot, as Cassie is saying that she's disappointed to someone over the phone. And then we see, again, I'm assuming that this is Nate running from this very guy. It's the same guy that beat him up in episode 3. And it appears that he's back for seconds as we see this little girl on her bike and she can hear Nate screaming from the outside. Again, based on the title, will Nate lose another toe or maybe a finger or maybe something even more painful? And again, based on Nate getting his ass beat again, I'm assuming that he just hasn't paid Nas yet, and Nas is just reminding him, I haven't forgot you haven't paid me, and just in case you forgot, he's sending his goon to remind him. Now, as we come to a close of this trailer, we can see what looks to be Rue next to these two unknown guys. Now, I would maybe bet that they're maybe the DEA agents, as we see one of the agents in their car as Rue asks them for one more chance. Now, it looks like Rue and whoever these two people are next to her, which again, I'm assuming are the DEA agents, it looks like they're like near some homeless area. So who are they looking for? Is the person looking for a person of interest with the DEA, or is she looking for a new dealer? Like, who is, I'm trying to think of anyone that we know of Rue to be in contact of someone that is homeless, or maybe it's a character we haven't seen in a while. Maybe Elliot is homeless now, who knows? But again, I'm assuming those two guys are the DEA agents, and whatever Rue is tasked to doing, she just wants to get one more chance. Now, back at Alamo's, we hear Magic telling him not to trust Rue. Well, she says not to trust that bitch, which I'm assuming she's referring to Rue, as we quickly get this shot of seeing Alamo grabbing a knife and screaming to tell whoever this person is to tell him the truth. Now, I tried to really slow down this frame to see who exactly was Alamo standing over and holding that knife over, and it seems to be one of his guys. It looks like that might be Asante Black's character who goes by the name of Kid. Again, this goes back to me talking about earlier with Bishop torturing the security guard. I feel like Alamo thinks again that the robbery was an inside job, and he's now questioning all of his close associates and his goons and his guards. And I wouldn't be surprised if Rue will be questioned as well, considering her relationship with Lori. Now, knowing that Alamo and Bishop are on demon time looking for answers about the robbery, maybe the title suggests that maybe it's not Nate that loses a little piggy. Maybe it's one of them threatening the security guard or whoever was in the shower area with Bishop. Maybe they're saying that because you always see, like in movies, like the people's being tortured saying, this little piggy went to the mall, this little piggy. So maybe it's Alamo or Bishop saying that to someone that they're torturing before chopping off a limb. So look, man, based on everything we just discussed about this trailer, I would assume that we can expect to see Rue dealing with relationship stuff with Jules, who, speaking of Jules, she may be dealing with her own issues with her sugar daddy Ellis. Cassie may be letting the 15 minutes of fame get the best of her as she might be firing Maddie despite all of her help. Or again, this could be a part of a plan of her helping Nate get his money. And speaking of Nate, looks like he hasn't paid Nas anything, and in return, he's gonna get his ass beat yet again. And last but not least, it appears that Alamo is under the impression that his own men had something to do with the robbery. Either way, whatever goes down next week, I'm excited to check it out because this trailer is really good. And like I said in my breakdown of episode 4 and episode 3 and 2, the show is just getting better and better. I'm hooked. Again, I know people are criticizing the show. Some of it I feel like is just forced hate because people just like to hate the show for the sake of it. But there are legit criticisms that I've talked about in my breakdown. But again, I enjoyed last week's episode. This trailer looks to be good, and I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's on the level of season 1 or 2, but I'm entertained by this show so far, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Now, I've shared my predictions and some of my theories along the way in this breakdown, but moving forward, I would love to maybe make these trailer breakdowns into reading some of you all's comments. So if that's something you all are interested in, please respond to the pinned comment below, letting me know that maybe for next week's trailer breakdown, we can do theories. And I know this isn't like a theory type of a show, but I can read some predictions or just read some of you guys' comments about like where you think the show is headed and so on and so forth. So again, if that's something you want to see on next week's breakdown, respond to the pinned comment in the comment section below. In the meantime, make sure if you haven't already to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification. That way you don't miss out on any of my Euphoria coverage. Thank you all for watching this week's trailer breakdown. Again, I love this show. I love talking about this show with you all. So please leave your thoughts, your theories about what you thought about this trailer after seeing this trailer, obviously. And also make sure if you haven't already to check out my breakdown of episode 4, which can be found in the description of this video, but also you can find it by clicking on the screen now. Alrighty, y'all. Thank you again for watching this week's trailer breakdown. And again, we'll be back next week breaking down the next trailer. But even before that, we'll be back to break down the episode on Sunday. But in the meantime, again, I appreciate you all. Don't forget, you all are awesome. Stay safe, and I'll see you again soon.